of the technology's knowledge. Look at an ocean. If you got the planet Earth, yeah, and see how deep the oceans go inside, how shallow they are, what dictates their position. And then, if as scientists, now that we understand these oceans, which are in our position, if I can go a bit thicker, what we have are these oceans. In fact, if you look at it, is to keep the balance of the spheric shape of the planet. Wherever there is a hole, you don't want a piece of metal with all sorts of shapes traveling so long. So in different planet we get the huge ups and downs, but in planet Earth, because of its center core, it has created that in these places we can hold different shape of plasma, what we call water. Then if you look at it, why do we have a specific kind of fish in the specific oceans? Then it means the magnetic gravitational field has a say on it, both from the gaseous part and from the center core. Plus what we call the inertial mass of the material which are in it. So if you look at the inertia and the circle we call the body of the earth, that's the skin of the man. What outside dictates on it, plus what we put inside it, dictates where the liver or the kidney is going to be. So if you look at it in depth, there is no difference between the man and planet. So we have to look in the structure. If the salt, the magnesium, or the fields created magnesium mountains, or the fields in part of the earth, we have to understand how. And then it comes to the body of the man. What does this do? If you look at the man's body, if I can, I'm the worst drawer in the world, I just make you a very nice man. We give him a head. That's a control system. It has got nothing to do with the rest. So you have to look at, in reality, what does this little chap does? It has two liquid cleaning system. Why two? Because the body over time has cut itself into two halves. For what reason? In case of accident, I can still operate. I can keep the soul moving. Now, it has given you two lungs. Has given you everything else, what comes in the center goes out, that I can control. It has given you a storage capacity, somewhere in the back. And then it has given you, in case I want to reproduce, I know how. The rest of it, you look, is a useless parts, but it has to be able to carry this system with itself. So it gives it a leg and an arm, in a way, to make it dynamic, to be able to reach, to do. So, if you look at the body of the man, it's a very simple thing. It's one of the most simplest things in the universe, is the body of the man. And if you understand this, then you can handle it in all shape or forms. What happens? Why, for example, in the reproduction cycle of the woman, some women don't get pregnant, and suddenly they get pregnant? Because partially the emotion changes it. Partially, once the emotion changes, the body moves to accept this. So I have to change condition. You stay with a man for 10 years, you never get married, you go out with one man and you get immediately married. And both are good. Which means the womb of the woman, where the seed has to grow, has not created a condition of that ocean, that the new life can begin. There is no need for all these surgeries and everything else if the doctors of today understand the process. Even with one sperm, you can make a woman pregnant. You cannot say you have none. You can change the environment of every man to be able to be a father, and every woman to be a mother, without anything, if you understand this technology so easily. On the other hand, you have to understand what condition you create. Is it the emotional, which brings the feed, or the environmental? In most of the systems, if you look at the liver, if you look at the kidney, if you look at the lung, if you look at the heart, you just need to touch it once and the system will pick up. What it means, you just create a condition and then it does. The system tunes in and it does its work. But you stay there, you put the pads again and again to make sure it does. Go back to the understanding of the water cups. What did you do? You put different things on and you put the fruit there and you transfer the energy into the water. So what does this mean? If you get the salinity of the fruit the same as the salinity of the water, then you find out you carry more in the water than the orange. You carry the emotion of it, you carry the physicality of it. You literally can feel chewing it. But as you have not calculated the salinity between the two, you just get maybe some of the taste. And some of you try, it doesn't work because the salinity was not near enough. So from those point of view, that point of view, those of you who work in the medical systems, even the dynamic or whatever, you have to consider, you have a liver, you want to treat the process, you want to understand, you want to start building a system. You have to understand the level of salinity of that system. Without it, that's why some of your doctors fail and you say it doesn't work. And some of you by accident, because you've left some salt in your system, work. You have to understand what system, what organ. There is enough research papers around the world. This is the responsibility of the medical team, especially with Dr. Klaus, to make this data in the Wikipedia, of the medical Wikipedia, the salt content of every organ, what it is. And then when you as doctors create patches for a given disease for a certain point, you have to add that salinity into it. Then you get 100% success. This is why I'm successful in most of the things I do, because this is salinity in the content of the water of the body of the man is a cornerstone of the change of every cell. It's the salinity which gives you test in the boxes, in CO2 boxes, see what happens. You change the salinity and see what you create. You have magnesium, you have calcium. As a lot of you know, I support homeopathy very strongly because the man understood part of the knowledge, but not all of it. But if you go to homeopathy, they say there are 12 salts in the body of the man. A small ratio of any salt in that creates a condition for living. The environmental change of the body of the man comes from the water and the salt, and the rest of the things are created because of the salinity of it. Why do you have magnesium in one organ? Why do you have calcium salt in one organ? Why do you have other salts which we have not even considered in another organ? So for those of you who work, or you're trying to do cancer help, you're trying to do somebody with Alzheimer's or whatever, understand the salinity of the organ and your hit is done. And then you don't say some of it are successful, because nobody up to now has considered this. It has to be considered. In some of the teachings I spoke about it, but it's been overlooked. But now going into the neutron development, you will understand this will help you a lot. You deliver such a vast energy to the body that it take what it needs, and within few seconds your patients, if you're a doctor, walks away with no cancer. No cancer does not mean not having the tumor. I have a tumor, 10 kilo, but is there, is another leg added. Because I have a leg doesn't mean I have a cancer. This is what our medical teams have to start very rapidly to bring in the conformity of the teaching of the medical and the public who do test medical part. You got a problem with your kidney stone. Get your urine, get it tested, see what's in it. What's in it, most of is what the whole thing back in your kidney. You make a Gans of it. And what do? You put the patches with that Gans, including the CO2, CH3, what do you call it, zinc oxide, into the patch, and you put it. In 2 days, there is no stone. We've shown this with Naomi. Giovanni can tell you. Naomi had a problem with the solid salt under her foot, bent. And they wanted to use ultrasonic to break it up over 6 months to go. I said, Giovanni, just test the urine, see what's in it. You know what the salt of the body is. Immediately Gans, make a Gans of it. Giovanni can tell you. Giovanni